If someone missed the video in 4 parts, then a hint has been made for you in the upper right corner. Before moving into the UE dormitory, Aizawa explained the rules and also showed them the new house. The task of the students is to arrange themselves in the rooms. After the settlement, they announced an imminent exam for obtaining a temporary heroic license, which is held twice a year. In this regard, teachers will ensure that students prepare and pass everything at least 2 super moves. The students put on their costumes and go to the gym, where Aizawa explains why super moves are so important, as well as what qualities the heroes are judged for. For the next 10 days, all students will train quirks twice as hard and learn super moves at the same time, and all hero costumes will be improved. All Might also came to observe Deku's progress and give out his tips on how to create super moves. All Might instructed Deku to come up with his own unique move, causing him to go into deep thought. He went to the engineering department, where they are improving suits. Ida and Uraraka also went there. When they met Deku, there was an explosion. This one was Hatsume, and thanks to Deku, he came up with a super move that uses the strength of his legs. 4 days later, his costume received stabilizers on his arms and legs, and all the students developed their super moves. The day of the exam has arrived. The goal of all students is to pass this exam and become semi-professional heroes with a temporary license. 1540 students arrived for the exam, so the goal of the first stage is to reduce the number of participants to 100 people. Each participant will have 3 targets on their body, as well as 6 balls in their hands. The task is to hit the ball on the target on the body of another participant. If the participant was hit by all 3 targets, he flies out, and whoever hit the 3rd target last gets a point. The student who gets 2 points goes further. The first stage begins, and therefore a huge zone appears. Deku suggested that his classmates come together and act as a group, but Bakuvu and Todoroki decide to perform solo. However, after the UE festival was held, the quirks of all the students of the UE school became known to other schools. When the start is announced, everyone starts attacking UE school. However, the students use their quirks and fight off the balls. Then Shikui Makabe, a sophomore at the Ketsubutsu Academy, makes his balls super strong and passes them to Itajiro Toteki, who with his boomerang quirk can throw objects along any trajectory and even through obstacles. Toteki throws his orbs underground and sends them towards the UE students. However, Jiro deflected the balls with his ultrasound and Ashido melted the balls. They are then attacked by second-year Yoshindo, who creates a vibration and causes an earthquake, thereby scattering the students in different places. Meanwhile, Inasa Yorishi takes all the swords from the students with a hurricane, and then sends the balls back with great speed, thus throwing 120 participants out of the exam at once. After the earthquake, the deck is attacked by Kemi from Shiketsu Academy and hits one of his targets. Then Kami attacks Deku again, but he dodges, but she pins him to the ground. Deku pushes her back with force, but at that moment, a student of the Ketsubutsu Academy attacks Deku, but he dodges the attacks with his power. He sees Uraraka with swords flying at her. Deku saves her with lightning speed and also destroys the ground under him. It turns out that this is not Uraraka, but Kami turned into her, and she attacks Deku again, thereby leaving a wound on his face. However, Sero and the real Uraraka arrive just in time, and Kami retreats. Then the guys came up with a plan where Deku decided to become a bait so that Sero and Uraraka would tie up the opponents. As a result, they successfully passed to the next stage. Meanwhile, Todoroki encounters 10 colorful ninjas that he freezes. However, he is attacked by a red ninja and frees his clanmates. Then the ninja throw water and heavy objects at him, and Todoroki drove them into a trap and undermines the tank, thereby defeating the opponents. Todoroki advanced to the next stage. Meanwhile, Seiko has an IQ quirk that is activated by T and turns her into an evil genius. She, along with her team from AII Academy, spotted the UE group. In turn, they also notice opponents in the building. However, Seiko plays loud music, stopping Jiro. In response, Jiro decides to attack with a sound, but her house is broken with a shot from the roof. The temperature in the room drops sharply, causing Azui to fall asleep. Seiko's goal is to make Yaoyorozu use her quirk to heat up and become weak. Yoirosu guessed that the enemy was waiting for this, but remembered Deku's words, so she creates 4 pairs of headphones, and then a giant speaker to attack Jiro with a low-frequency sound. Her plan worked, but Seiko grabbed Yoirosu at the last moment and locked herself in the room with her. However, the guys stopped Seiko, so they went to the next stage. Meanwhile, Bakugo, Kirishima, and Kaminari are attacked by a sophomore from Shiketsu's high school, Seiji Shishikura, who has a meat monster quirk. He immediately turns Kirishima into his flesh, and then the sophomore creates his meat monsters, but Bakugo destroys them with his explosions. Seiji then faints his flesh under the bridge and turns Bakugo into a pile of flesh, but Bakugo manages to throw a Kaminari grenade, which blows up Bakugo and then fries Seiji with lightning, which weakens his control over the monsters. After regaining consciousness, Kirishima knocks out the villain, and then they switch to the already restored students. As a result, all 3 pass the next stage. According to the preliminary results, 11 U students have already passed to the next stage, and also no one from the U school has yet been dropped out. Meanwhile on the field, Ida and Aoyama decided to team up and help each other. However, Aoyama decides at the last moment to sacrifice himself in order for Ida to fulfill his dream and become a hero. He begins to draw attention with a laser, but suddenly a flock of pigeons appears, controlled by Kuji. Tokoyami also appears with his shadow, as well as Minoru, who sticks everyone with his balls, and Invisible Toru blinds everyone and starts attacking the target with balls, thanks to which they jointly passed the exam. All 100 participants have been selected, as well as all 20 students from UEI have passed to the next stage. The second stage begins, so the building on the battlefield begins to collapse, and now the goal of the students is to save the injured people, which are specially trained actors. In the second stage, each participant has 100 points. For the mistakes made, points are taken away from the participant, and points are added for each saved person. If the participant's points fall below 50, then he is eliminated. Each participant will be assigned an employee who monitors his actions. The start of the second stage was announced, and Deku, along with the guys, found a crying child. However, the boy said that everyone had minus points, since first they had to ask about the state of health. Then Deku took the boy and carried him to the collection point for the wounded, while everyone else went in search of other victims. Other groups are also gathering the wounded and preparing grounds for them. Suddenly, disguised bandits appeared with their leader, the hero killer whale. Now all students have 2 goals: to save the victims and also to protect them from the villains. The bandits began their attack, and the future heroes were faced with a choice: rescue or attack. While the Deku was thinking about what to do, Shindo decides to detain the criminals with his vibration waves, and he asks everyone else to take the victims away. However, Killer Whale approaches and knocks out Shindo. Therefore, Todoroki intervenes, who attacks Killer Whale with ice. Inasa Yorashi also came to his aid. He easily blew off the criminals, but Todoroki decides to attack with fire, and Yorashi attacks with a stream of air, because of which they interfere with each other with their quirks and start arguing. However, they are interrupted by the bandits' cement mixture. They start attacking at the same time, which causes the flames to blow towards Shindo, but Deku manages to save him. Killer Whale then attacks Yorashi with a sound wave and also grabs Todoroki. Meanwhile, Shindo comes to his senses and stops the pursuing criminals and asks Deku to destroy them. Todoroki and Yorashi realize that they had made a mistake, so Todoroki directs fire into Yorashi's airflow, because of which they jointly created a fire whirlwind and surrounded Killer Whale with it. At this time, Deku and other heroes begin to destroy the villains. However, Killer Whale puts out the fire whirlwind, but Deku appears and knocks out the hero. The end of the exam is announced, as the victims are saved. The judges calculated the points of the students, where as a result almost everyone passed except for Bakugo, Yorashi, and Todoroki. Everyone was given leaflets to familiarize themselves with the points on which they were awarded or deducted points. As a result, the heroes who passed the exam received a temporary license of heroes, and those who did not pass the exam have one more chance to get it. To do this, you need to take special courses and pass an individual test. If the results are good, they will also receive a temporary hero license. It turned out that underneath Kami's appearance was Himiko Toga, her metamorphosis quirk. When she absorbs human blood, she can turn into him, and when she scratched his face in a battle with Deku, she received his blood. Meanwhile, the Almighty visited the Tartar prison, where All for One is being held. All Might came to find out Shigereki's location. However, All for One has no idea where he is, as he sent him free swimming. Also, All for One reported that after the resignation of the All Might, people no longer trust the heroes, and therefore the All Might can only watch how the heroic world falls apart due to his powerlessness. However, All Might understands that One for All wants to destroy All Might and his successor Deku with the help of Shigaraki, but All Might does not intend to give up and promises to crush the villains. On the way home, All Might receives a photo of his provisional license from Deku, so he is overjoyed for his successor. At the dorm that evening, Bakugo asks Deku to talk to him. They enter area where Bakugo lost to Deku for the first time. Bakugo can't figure out how a weakling with no quirk got into Yui, and then got a quirk, and was even able to get a hero's license. After the battle in Kamina, Bakugo figured out that Deku got his power from All Might, as he saw All for One take and use multiple quirks at the same time. He understood his whole path from beginning to end, but he could not understand why the Almighty chose him as his successor. To answer this question for himself, he invites Deku to fight, but Bakugo starts to attack Deku, but he dodges as he doesn't want to fight. Bakugo always looked up to All Might, but now that he transferred his power to Deku, he drained his energy himself, and therefore there is no longer a symbol of the world that Bakugo used to look up to, and now Bakugo does not know what to do next. Deku understands his feelings, but the next time he attacks, he punches him in the face. Deku decided not to hold back and fight at full strength. However, Bakugo attacks so fast that Deku doesn't even have time to react. Deku gets up, but Bakugo blinds him and attacks again. It was also revealed that Deku always admired Bakugo, and he inspired Deku even more than All Might did. Deku starts a counterattack, but Bakugo slams him into the ground. It turned out that a sentinel robot was watching the whole battle, which informed Aizawa about this. Aizawa went outside and met All Might. All Might appeared in Zone B, where he asked the guys to calm down, and he also heard their entire conversation. All Might then explained to Bakugo why he chose Deku. Bakugo calls himself a weakling as he regrets that the world will never see All Might again, believing that if he were stronger, he would save him. But the Almighty replied that his time was on the way, and therefore no one's fault. In the end, All Might told him the whole story from beginning to end, and Bakugo promised to keep the secret about strength a secret. Bakugo and Deku are now rivals. Aizawa also punished the students for breaking the rules. He gave Bakugo 4 days of house arrest and 3 days for Deku to clean up. Since the departure of the Almighty, the news of the resignation of the symbol of peace continued to be discussed on TV and to cause confusion in the minds of people. But the second shocking news was that now the Prospector will be the new symbol of hope. In parallel with this, many groups of villains have become more active, and every day there are more and more of them. The League of Villains, led by Shigaraki, grew at an unprecedented pace. However, they became very selective in their choice of villains, and therefore the Strike Force selected crazy and strong villains. Meanwhile, Principal Nezu held a meeting of the whole school. He spoke about the difficult current situation, which may worsen in the future. Therefore, part-time work by heroes will be introduced according to the type of heroic practice. Now the main goal of the Yui school is to raise worthy heroes in this difficult time. The performance ended with Vlad, who asked to follow the rules of the school, otherwise there will be deductions. In the class, Aizawa gave a lecture and told in more detail about the part-time job. Since this work is outside the jurisdiction of the academy, each student will be responsible for himself. However, the students are at a loss since they could not participate in the festival, but simply earn extra money as heroes. Aizawa explained that this festival was for PR so that the hero agencies would notice the students. Also now with a temporary license, students will be able to participate in missions. Meanwhile, Deku and Bakugo are cleaning up. Deku is shocked as he only missed 1 day and doesn't understand anything about what's going on at the academy. However, due to the punishment, all the students were forbidden from telling Bakugo and Deku about their future internship. It's been 3 days, Deku is out of house arrest, and now Deku wants to catch up. Aizawa elaborated on the internship. To do this, he invited the 3 strongest students of the school, who are called the Big Three. Tamaki Amajiki spoke first, but he began to shake and turned away from the class. Hado took over his presentation, but after that, she began to ask stupid and strange questions to the students. Aizawa then got angry and asked the trio to behave normally. Then Mirio Togata began to speak. He asked a question, but the answer was complete silence. Since no one understands his joke, he invited everyone to fight, all the students together against one Mirio, as he believes that the best way to show the difference between their level of power is through personal experience in battle. As a result, the students changed clothes and met in the training area. Deku decided to attack first, but his attack went through Mirio's body. The rest of the guys also started to attack, but Mirio first knocked out the ranged fighters and then switched to hand-to-hand combat. Deku realized that if Mirio is palpable when attacking, then it is best to catch him on the counterattack. Mirio runs up and goes underground. He appears behind Deku, but Deku reacts quickly and kicks him. However, Mirio slyly uppercuts Deku. Aizawa clarified that Mirio is the first of those who can become the first among the heroes. As a result, Mirio scattered everyone with one blow to the stomach. Mirio's quirk is revealed to be penetration. When he uses his quirk, he becomes weightless. However, when canceling it, the item immediately pushes him back as it violates the laws of physics. But there are enough downsides to his quirk. Under the ground, he cannot breathe, see, or hear. This state is comparable to a black hole. He can also use a quirk on a body part and thereby pass through walls. Then Mirio gave a cool and motivational speech. The whole point is that experience turns into strength. Deku immediately realized that Mirio was not naturally strong, but because he developed his skills through training and worked harder than anyone else. Mirio also admitted that Deku is strong enough. That evening, Deku decided to call Gran Torino to inquire about an internship. However, the old man refused him, as he is now busy looking for a league of villains. He sent him to AII Might to recommend Deku to his former partners. Meanwhile, the League of Villains met with the head of Overhaul, those who have been trusted to be the heirs of evil, and those who have been set free to do evil will soon meet. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like and press the bell so as not to miss new videos. AniMap was with you. Bye everyone.